instead of working against each other, we worked with each other. So like I made a bingo card for the pizza barn, and then I'm like, we really need to make this different. So instead of just a bingo card for the pizza barn, we had it to where you could only get a bingo if you visited each restaurant. So, so we changed, so we changed it to where, we changed it to where all of the restaurants weren't competing against each other. We were helping each other, and we wrote gift certificates. And so my gift certificates were handed out at a different restaurant for whoever got a bingo, and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of the problem is people don't want to work together. They're like, this is my thing, and it's my way or the highway. But then they want you to help them and fix their problems, but they don't want to let you in. Does that make sense? I guess. So I don't know. I think that's a lot of the problem is it's kind of like with all the clubs out there too. Well, this is our club. We don't want to join your club. We don't want to work with you. We're fine. And so that's why you have so many different clubs possibly working in the same direction, but they're not working together in that direction. And so I think that's where you kind of have that issue. And then you have your volunteers for pretty much 99% of the boards are volunteers, and then they get belittled constantly. Why would you want to volunteer to be belittled?
How do you change that culture?
You fight for it. I think somebody has to knock down that wall and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and we want to help you, and trust is hard. So you have to just keep pushing until that trust is earned and show them that you're out to help them versus hurt them. Kind of like with the museum. So with the museum, we really want to work on this, getting a dinosaur museum here. I mean, we have dinosaurs in our backyard, but they're not here. They're in Oklahoma, they're in Texas, they're in Hill City, they're everywhere but here. We have no museum for dinosaurs, but they are everywhere. We have
big
but they're dinosaurs that have been dug here.
Yeah.
Within a couple miles of where we sit right now.
Yeah.
And some of them are tyrannosaurs, triceratops. I mean, big dinosaurs.
Yeah, so like the Netherlands just opened a huge exhibit because of a herd that was found on one of the ranches here. And it's like, why aren't we utilizing it?
It was the triceratops, right? Yeah.
And so we're like, we got to do something. So trying to help the museum get their addition and, build that dinosaur museum, and we would have tons of people come to our area to visit the dinosaur museum. So so we're working on that right now. So I think, and showing them that we're trying to help them without saying pay us or this, that, and the other. How can we help you get this? So working on that. That tech school, that would be huge to have that here. I mean, companies spend $20,000 sending someone here to learn this stuff, where if we could have that school here, they could send 4 people at $5,000. So,
are there jobs here, like that they're training for? At this tech school?
They could. Well, depending on there's a lot of like car dealerships use those big machines that, but you got to learn how to use them. So that tech school that we're looking at getting is like a training area for manufacturing. So if we may not per se have that manufacturing facility here for them to get that job at, but if they come here for schooling and then they go back to wherever, and so we're looking at kind of like an income and a rotation of people coming to the point where you never know what that's going to bring you down the road. But not just that in the tech school, but, you gotta look at what they did in Spearfish. It's an amazing building. I got to see the outside. I'm hoping to go in and get a tour of it, in the next month. But they have mechanics in there, they have electrical in there, they got welding in there, they got plumbing in there, they got all of these different trades in there for these high school kids to learn. I don't know if it's open to like public, I know because.
So is it funded through the school district?
Well, that's why I'm meeting with the school, superintendent. Once I meet with him, I can find out exactly how that program works, because it is South Dakota, so I don't really know. But if we could get something like that here, I think would be huge. Not only for the kids, that are in school, the EWC program, and, if we have the potential to bring people in to be trained there, to go back to their companies, that could be huge. So we have a place to put it. We're just waiting for the investors and the landowner to come to an agreement on some, and contracts and things to look after, so. But, that could be a huge start of an industrial park. And also, there's railroad access there. So we have a lot of seeds planted for, some people that could utilize the rare earth. So like computer companies, tech companies. So the seed has been planted to a lot of those companies, but the program in Upton is still in its pilot program. So they're kind of waiting to make sure it surpasses that pilot program before they end up building something here. So so it's like, okay, so there's a lot of things we're waiting on, but what can we work on now?
Right.
And that's the museum, that's the industrial park, that's, beautifying, and educating, not only the residents, but business owners here. So that's what we're gonna try to do with the economic development.
So I'm not sure how to ask you this, but the way the fiscal system is set up and the way towns receive revenue is based on property taxes and population. And I haven't heard you talk about growing population at all. Is that not
It is a thing.
a vision, or
It
what
is
are
a
you
vision.
thinking?
Economic development wise, we are working with a gentleman who, is not from our town, but he's looking for land to start developing houses on. But we run into that water and sewer, and so a lot of it will be septic or well.
So tell me, you run into the water and sewer. Tell me about that.
Okay, so like earlier when we were talking about water districts, we have one water district over in Painted Hills. They can't have any more houses out there because they can't give out any more taps for water. So you see a lot of trucks that have water tanks in the back because they have to fill.
So, but then the city says that they have enough water for up to 3,000 more people.
Yeah, but we have nowhere to put them. Like, okay,
so why don't you run water lines out there?
Because they would have to annex into the city. And a lot of people don't want to annex into the city because they don't want to deal with the ordinances. So it's kind of like being in an HOA. So, it's my best way to explain it. So like,
that's a good way of explaining it, actually.
And I understand that, but I'm trying to get you to jump over that hurdle and say we need to grow.
Right.
And we need to get there.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. I talked with Greg about it a lot. We looked at a couple areas where there's land that we can do water to, but now it's trying to get those people to sell that land. And so that's an issue there, because a lot of the bigger plots of land are owned by family and have been in family for years, and they don't want to give up that land. Or you have land where they think they're sitting on a gold mine and want way too much for it. So you kind of have, like when I first moved here, I had a house built on a lake in a resort area. I don't know, it was up there, it was more than $500,000 house. I moved out here and they're like little bungalows, and they wanted $1 million for it, and it's like, for that, you know, so it's like, I still can't comprehend what people are asked for when it comes to housing and things like that. I almost wanna blame like the real estate agents on it, because, okay, the houses aren't appraising for this, but then again, they're, you know, I understand go high, you can go down a little, you can't go up kind of thing, but I think what people believe that their stuff should be is astronomical. I mean,
and that's the market driven, right? Right. But for your community to bring more businesses in, you're going to need more rooftops. Right, more population.
Yeah, and this Brian guy that I've been talking to, we talked, and I said, what if we, because he's looking at lands, he's working with a realtor here, and we're looking for a big plot, and our goal is to find this plot, work with planning and zoning, to divide it, and then have kind of like model homes, and help him out by having people purchase their lot, purchase their home, have it built, kind of thing, and then when you get to the end, then you sell your model home, just like you would in a bigger city. So we are working on that, but and we're working with Black Hills Energy and Powder River, because we need to make sure we have the capability of bringing in that energy. You heard about the gas lines, so that, you know, now you're looking at having propane. So there's those hurdles that is kind of stopping. So I think the best thing that they have on their next agenda is talking about those homes that can be either torn down and remodeled on. So I think they're starting in the right direction, because you have, there's a lot of houses that to me could be condemned, but is getting those people who don't live in them to sell that property. And I think that would be a great way for, you know, if we could get them to sell those properties, maybe that's somewhere where this Brian, who is a house developer, could start building new houses on these properties that already have the water, the sewer, and the gas line. And then, you know, he builds that trust with his community, we see his work, the quality of his work, and then he could look at, okay, I'm gonna build out here. And yes, this may have to be a propane, or yes, this may have to be where you haul your own water, but why is it gonna make it worthwhile for you?
What about multifamily units?
There's a few.
I think there is a few. There's the low income, there's the
duplexes up
duplexes for senior citizens.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of those around town. I think if we were gonna go that route, I'd make a little retirement community and have different like homes for like a good HOA subdivision for those who wanna retire that don't wanna do yard work and things to that factor. Because I think if we could have like a Sun City type thing here, I think that would be great.
We've done a lot of, I mean, every community in Wyoming, every community in the nation is housing's an issue. But when we worked with the Growth Lab originally, they came out with the housing note. I've shared that with you. But it really talked about infill and like not running your infrastructure out further, but building on the lots that are available, and rebuilding on the, you know, the condemned homes, get those built. And then also like multifamily housing to get the cost down, right? So maybe it's townhomes or duplexes or even larger buildings.
I was kind of hoping we would have some from planning and zoning here, because I think if we could get some of those places to sell their homes, you could put a nice duplex there. I think the house behind me used to be a duplex because the way that it sits. There's like two, I didn't know what door to go to when I went to her house. Like, oh, I'm gonna do that one. But I was almost thinking of buying it to make it a So,
That was my next question. What are your plans? So now?
well, I've been working with, Chuck, the interim city engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I had him come out and take a look, and, thinking of building a bakery, like a micro bakery, in my backyard. But I'm trying to do it the right way
Mm-hmm.
and utilize, even though I would work under the Wyoming Food Freedom Act, I would still, want Derek, because I became good friends with Derek from, Health and Food
Mhm.
Agriculture, to come in and make sure. Inspector, to say, hey, look, I know that you don't have to come in here, but I want you to come in here and see, because I can't run a commercial, business on where I live, because it's rated residential.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm also looking at another place here that just came up for rent to put a bakery in.
Nice.
So I think,
So we only have about 5 more minutes, a little less than 5 minutes. I have lots more questions, but go ahead.
Yeah, also in terms of opportunities, I'm curious to know, we talked a little bit about the museum, how much opportunity you see in the tourism sector, because we have like the Black Hills Forest here, there's the trails around. I'm curious to know like how big it is right now, and if you see potential for growth in the future in the tourism sector here.
I do see a lot of growth in the tourism aspect of it, cause, we have, what are,
Petroglyphs.
no, what are the dinosaur diggers?
Oh, paleontologists.
We have groups of them that come out here to, dig on these ranches that have all these dinosaur bones. And so when they come into our town, which is, maybe once or twice a week, they leave that area and they come into our town. That a lot of them come back, to dig, and they know where they wanna go in their town, and they bring more people with them. So the dinosaur thing is huge, out here, and anytime you go to Hill City or Hot Springs, you always see people going in and out of these dinosaur little museums that they have there. And I think that, kinda like the vision that I painted to Cindy, and to the museum board, they're at a great location.
Yeah.
Because if you go to that 4-way, 85 and 16, and we have a big giant metal dinosaur outside, what do you think kids are gonna say? They wanna go see it, and it's a huge photo op, and then it kinda brings people into the town, and then you can play off of that on, oh, well, we have this, and this as well, for the kids to take a look at, cause I think people travel and they take their families with them, and we have more and more every year doing homeschool, and with homeschool, they travel, so it's not necessarily just tourist time. So there's a lot more education going on with people who are traveling now, and I think that it's something that's realistic, it's something we could weekly reach goals on and have that built. But you're running into that funding, because the grants are on hold, there's not much museum funding out there right now. So we have 6 ranchers that are ready to dive in. We have a university that will help set it up. The university out at the Hanson Ranch
Yeah.
would come and help us set it up the right way. We looked at a building that we could utilize as the dinosaur museum, because at first we were gonna put it in the antlers to get it started and have a donation box to help build the plans, because we have blueprints of the plan that we wanted to do the addition and stuff, but then I sold. So I
Do you
think,
have a business plan for the dinosaur museum? Do you have a cost estimate, a timeline?
well, yes and no. I kinda have one, but I'm not the museum. And the museum, doesn't really have the funds to just go out and build it. So think if we had like, you know how like you walked, when First State Bank was getting remodeled, and we walked in, they had kind of like a picture that an architect made, and it was beautiful, and you got to see what it was gonna, you could vision what it was gonna look like in there. I think we need to do stuff like that with the museum. And we need to have more functions for the museum to get just us from this community to go in there and you know, start spreading that word that this is what they're trying to do. So I think just teaming up and have everybody on the same page, because there's a lot of projects going on in town right now, and I think we all need to focus on one, get it completed, and then work on another project, but we need to join together.
Mhm.
So